This is the new Brydge 12.9 Max Plus keyboard case for your 12.9-inch iPad Pro. Well, at least for those who own the 3rd, 4th, and the latest 5th generation iPad Pro. It's priced at $249, which is $100 less than Apple's Magic Keyboard, but is it a viable alternative? This isn't a full review by any means. Consider it a first impression video because this is a pre-production unit from Brydge themselves that I just got over the weekend and I have to send it back like right now. So I really can't give you any long-term thoughts at this moment in time, but I have plenty of thoughts right off the bat, and they're mostly positive. I have reviewed a ton of trackpad keyboards over the last year or so. Nothing really compares to the Magic Keyboard. I just always end up going back to it. I don't know what it is, but I just still really like it. The 12.9 Max Plus has one big thing that I don't like, and that's the name. 12.9 Max Plus is not great, doesn't roll off the tongue, but the keyboard itself is actually very good. So let's start with the actual keys. The typing experience is fantastic. That was really never an issue with previous Brydge keyboards. I like how spacious it feels, there's plenty of key travel, and it just feels good to glide my fingers across when typing out long-form documents, like the script for this video, for example. Now there is one thing I need to get used to, and since the key travel is kind of significant compared to something like the Magic Keyboard, I often find myself not pressing hard enough. So if you are coming from one for the other, you're just gonna have to get used to that. There is an extra row of shortcut keys above the number row for useful things like the keyboard and iPad brightness, a key to easily switch to different keyboards like your emoji keyboard, media playback options, and more. This is a Bluetooth keyboard after all, so there is a Bluetooth button right next to the power button, and you'll just hold that down and then go into your Bluetooth settings to connect this keyboard to your iPad. I would have loved for it to connect through the pin connectors, but you know, it is what it is. Overall though, I really love the feel when typing on this keyboard, so I'm pretty happy about that part. I will quickly add that this keyboard is kind of wobbly when you're tapping around on your iPad. That's not a huge deal considering that the whole point of it is to use the trackpad instead of touching. But whenever you decide to tap around, it might be kind of annoying because there is some wobbliness going on there. There's no issues when you're typing on your lap though, or on a desk. I haven't really noticed any wobble of significance, so the iPad does remain relatively stable. The trackpad is also pretty good, and the one thing that I really like about this trackpad is how massive it is. This is a MacBook Pro size trackpad, and I love it. One thing I kind of wish Apple did with the new Magic Keyboard for 2021 was increase the size, and unfortunately Apple kept everything the same and just made a white version. Brydge knows what's up here. They added the huge trackpad, and that's good news for people who like that. It appears also every bit as functional as the trackpad on the Magic Keyboard. Everything works totally fine. There aren't any dead zones that I've noticed. I can click or tap anywhere, well, almost anywhere. You can actually tap to click all around the outer edges of this trackpad if you want to, but it does not physically click in some areas. But either way, I'm a tap to click guy and it works perfectly no matter where I decide to tap on that trackpad. So the trackpad and its gestures are another thing that I was concerned about, and it actually works really well. One of my biggest complaints from last year, aside from the design, which I'll get into in just a minute, with the Brydge keyboard was that the trackpad was just awful. It was laggy, and there was no official gesture support. You couldn't use 3 fingers to swipe. It was just a mess. Now, over the course of 2021, Brydge did release a software update to fix all of that. And with this new keyboard case, those trackpad concerns, much like when they fixed it last year, they work perfectly fine. There are no concerns. They're all long gone. Everything feels and operates just like Apple's Magic Keyboard trackpad, except just on a much larger scale. There's no complaints here on my end. Trackpad, keyboard work perfectly fine. I also, like I said before, did not like the design of previous cases from Brydge and how the iPad had to physically attach into these pegs in the corners. That's kind of what held the iPad to the case, and it was 2 separate pieces. And sometimes I would actually scratch my keyboard my iPad trying to get it into that part of the keyboard case. And it was a mess and I didn't really like it. However, with this one, it actually just magnetically snaps onto this back part of the case, and that's it, and it's all one piece. Now, before, like I said, the back cover of the iPad and the keyboard were two separate pieces, but this is much more like a clean laptop design, kind of like that MacBook Pro dream that we always wanted for the iPad. In that form factor, it feels much more like that. And I will say the magnet doesn't feel incredibly strong, but it does snap in, and I haven't had any issues with the iPad Pro falling out whatsoever. Now, the hinge does have a lot of strength to it, meaning if you start to close it, it can resist slamming shut up to a certain point, but once you get within like an inch of the keys, it is going to just eventually, with the weight, kind of fall in, its gravity. My only issue at first was that I thought it wasn't going to go back far enough because I was met with a lot of resistance, and if I tried to extend back further, I thought I was going to break it. But I ended up doing it anyways, and I don't know if it was just the pre-production unit or if it just needed some WD-40 or something, but I was actually able to open it much, much further than I thought the maximum hinge resistance was going to be. It is still pretty wobbly when you decide to tap around the iPad. The distance in which you open it does not affect that, but overall, I've really enjoyed my time with this keyboard. Albeit it has been brief, I have enjoyed it nonetheless, and I look forward to checking out my final production unit when it ships out later in June and when it starts shipping out to everyone else. Of course, I'd love to know your thoughts on this keyboard. Are you planning on picking one up? Are you planning on going with the Magic Keyboard? Let me know in the comments down below. This has been Dan with MacRumors. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope to see you around in the next video.